Are live, and so we are going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Coos Bay Urban Renewal Agency to order. And our first item on the agenda is public comments. We have public comment tonight. Jim. And we have a timer, I believe. She's resetting.
She's resetting. Good evening. Jim Behrens, Fulton Street, Coos Bay. We're going to talk about Empire here for a minute, and the part of Empire we're going to talk about is within the boundaries of the Urban Renewal District. My phone rang off the hook today. I don't know if you did down at the city. I mentioned to people that I would come in and talk to you guys tonight, so you may not have gotten a call. To the west of the Gussie's building, there's a vacant lot. That vacant lot has not been in compliance with the nuisance code for vegetation all year long. Okay, so vegetation was never trimmed on that lot. Okay, it has vegetation that is noxious weeds. We have a county noxious weed ordinance, so there's another one to enforce. And we have cleaned homeless camps out of there twice, okay, in the last 6 months. Volunteers. Not counting what the city may have cleaned out of there. So the question I'm asking the Urban Renewal District is perhaps you might talk to the city council and tell them that they need to get rid of that camp, especially since we're in Christmas tourist season and we have 56 to 60,000 people going to Shore Acres, and they drive by that before it's dark. And if there's a fire going there or a light or something, it's very obvious. So that's where we're going to go with that. The next part is several things have happened, and you might want to check with your city attorney. He probably keeps up with this better than I do. All right. But we have had changes in the state law for the tax incentives on building residential property. And I believe it's Senate Bill 6 or 9. It's a one-digit one. And heard all this talk when we did housing needs analysis, all these other things about how we were going to get incentives done to build housing. And then I hadn't heard a single solitary thing since. All right? I'd like someone in planning or public works or community development or one of you folks to perhaps kick the can a little bit down the road. I realize that you have the estuary plan. I realize that you have supposedly a rewrite of Chapter 17, which is the development code. But I think we need to take a look at that and perhaps maybe try to squeeze some staffing into that to get it done. If we do get it done, we may be one of the few people on the coast that have did it. I think Newport has theirs done. Don't hold me to it. But I know that there was some resistance by the urban renewal group here about doing that. They were concerned that they would lose some revenue. Our housing situation is not kind of cruddy. It's abysmal. Okay, we were in panic mode long time ago. It is the number one thing, and I'm not the only one that thinks this, it's the number one thing that we need to work on. If we had housing, we would have more economic activity, period, across the board. I'm done. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Can I just clarify?
Yes.
The first point you made about the property west of Gussie's.
Yes.
It's a camp with people.
Yeah.
And they are residing there and having campfires.
Well, I haven't noticed a campfire. I've been told of a campfire.
Okay.
Okay.
And so your concern is the people that are occupying that vacant land.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
And we have nuisance codes on the books. If you guys aren't, you've approved them, or some of you were in office when they're approved. There's a noxious weeds ordinance. There's plenty of things to talk to that property owner about. All right.
Thank you.
All right, and I've actually talked to one of the property owners that's fairly close to there that has a building that says do not occupy, and he takes the trouble of whacking his weeds down twice a year with the power. I mean, it's not like they're total deadbeats, but this particular one it's very blatant, very visible, okay, and it's an eyesore. And it's right on the main drag.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
I was going to actually ask if we could look into that. I'm glad that Jim brought it up, but it has grown exponentially over the last few days and has stretched out quite a bit.
Okay.
Senate bill that he was referencing, you were going to address that?
It was 919.
Okay.
Okay, I just looked up both 6 and 9, and neither were anywhere
Yeah.
close to anything related,
So
so I
what
was
is it?
going to ask.
Senate Bill 919. I found it after a minute.
But, you know, Jim, so we are, the housing, definitely, I don't think anyone on this council doesn't disagree with you. We are, what did we do with that tax incentive?
So, yeah, that's what I was going to speak to. I'm not sure if there's other things that are in that bill that we should look at, but we were specifically looking at the multi-unit property tax exemption.
Right.
That made it all the way through for presentation for you to give us some guidance to move forward. And we've struggled, like in May of this year, trying to connect with the superintendent at the school district. The requirement is we have 51% of taxing districts. The school district and the city make up that 51%, so we just really need their support for this. I reached out to her again in November, have a meeting on the books, and then I'm sure you've all heard that she is
Resigned.
leaving the district. So I've now connected with her admin. I know there's a more formal name for his role, but to keep this in the works so that I can communicate directly with their board and get this rolling. So
Yeah, if not, let's make an appointment with their board, get on their agenda, and I'll be
Yeah.
glad to attend it and just say, hey, let's do this. So those are some of the things we run into. We also got a grant from DLCD. There's 16 acres behind the hospital that our planner found that we're working with the hospital and a developer and to get a site plan done. We got a grant from DLCD to kind of get the site plan done, so maybe help the developer. We're also talked to Senator Wyden's office and some people back in DC about trying to get some help financially to help with some infrastructure for these developers to help them move this forward, because the project like on Ocean Boulevard by Cascade Farms, which is 400 homes, that's stalled. I think it's kind of moving along slowly, but it's not moving along as quick. And if we could help maybe with some of the development and infrastructure, maybe that would help it move it along. So we are trying to make that. We're also looking at expanding our urban growth boundary to help facilitate buildable lands. We are going through a process with DLCD that we've been doing for 6 months. The county and the city both have adopted to move forward on this. DLCD, we're just wanting their blessing, have said that they need to look at this, and so that's where we're at.
and we now have a grant that they're willing to give us in order to look at this.
Right, so we got 2 grants from
we'll be
DLCD to
funded.
do this.
And the last thing is we did put together, staff put together information for the projects that we have awareness of right now, the infrastructure costs to get those projects online, and shared that with LOC and also with our state legislators. The intent is those are going to be topics the whole state, I shouldn't say all cities, but a majority put that together to share. So that can be a topic when there's, meet at short session and likely even long session later, but.
I was recently meeting with Representative Boomer Wright, and I think that the city and nonprofit partners have done a really great job at identifying land and clearing land and developing plans and submitting proposals to the state, and we come up short with funding. And he mentioned that he would be more than willing to be an advocate for that and to include him,
He's been
CC him
included.
on those requests.
He's been included.
But I mean, the South Coast definitely is not getting its fair share of those housing dollars. Yeah.
Through some of my state meetings, I've finally been able to get some interaction out of the Oregon Emergency Management to get us, the state, to look at surplusing us land as well throughout the rural Oregon continuum of care. So They didn't put us in the 23 executive order, but after nagging enough at state meetings, somebody finally gave me a contact. So hopefully we'll get some land too.
So it is really one of our top priorities, Jim. It's just getting things to move forward is really difficult and frustrating. So, and we need to get it done. We do. You're absolutely correct.
I'm well aware that it is quite challenging, but I also think that it needs to really be something that, I realize that we have a lot of things to look at, but it does need to move forward.
Yep.
And anybody that's gonna do anything positive needs to get whatever we can give them to go forward.
Yep. Totally agree. I don't think anyone on this council disagrees with you. Or staff.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Stephanie, I just hijacked your meeting.
That's okay. That's important information, and I hope this comes up and we can get maybe a report in council too, since we have limited folks online. But yeah, I mean, that's important information that people know that we are moving forward, and we're running into some roadblocks, but there is work happening in a variety of ways to try and bring that back and keep that in the forefront. So, all right, any further public comments? Then we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the consent calendar. How do you wish to proceed?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Our first action item, which is item number 3A, is approval of additional funding for asbestos removal as part of the police department's 911 dispatch center, and Chief Chapinar has that one.
He's been so patient. all
Yeah,
the-
what a way to end the meeting. I'll ask you guys for some money here. But at the September 5th URA meeting, approval to undergo the dispatch center remodel was granted. In October of this year, the project was started with an anticipation completion date sometime late January or early February 2022. During that same meeting, it was decided that Tom Gajewski would be awarded the construction contract for the project. I'm happy to report that the project has been moving forward as planned and is on schedule. And however, as we progressed through the removal of the old carpet, asbestos was found in several of the rooms. And as a result, the contractor did reach out to two provided bids, contractors that specialize in the removal and the disposal of the asbestos product. After receiving those quotes, the contractor provided staff with a change order request of the amount of $29,655 for the removal and the disposal of the asbestos, as well as the installation of the new subflooring. The total change order amount is the $29,655, which would come from the URA budget, the Downtown Capital Project Fund. And so if it pleases the agency, we are requesting approval for the $29,655 to cover the unexpected expenses caused by the discovery of the asbestos and the removal and disposal of it, and to replace the underlayment. And I'm open for any questions.
So this hasn't stalled the project at all?
It has not. We needed to move forward. We had to mobilize the contractors, and so we're moving forward. So we're kind of coming to you on after the fact kind of the situation here.
And then just for clarification or some background history, the reason that this wasn't discovered in the upgrades that were done to City Hall, the laws have changed regarding this, or it was covered, or?
I'm a little unclear on how that all took place. Back in 2012, there was some asbestos tests done when we underwent the seismic remodel. There was asbestos discovered. It was in a stable state, and at that time, I believe they allowed the carpet to go over to whatever practice was the place back then. Unfortunately, things have changed. It was not as in a solid state. It was actually crumbling, busting up, and so removal had to happen.
Probably good to get that out of there anyway. Any other questions? Okay.
I move that we approve the $29,655 to cover the unexpected expenses caused by the discovery of asbestos during the removal of the carpet during the 911 dispatch center remodel.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve additional funding of $29,655 for the removal of asbestos, and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And I believe that is all that we have for this meeting tonight, so I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Good job, team.
John Martin.